The 2017 Kenyan presidential election will perhaps go down the annals of history as the most controversial after that of 2007. It was an election whose results were nullified, and a repeat election a month later was boycotted by the opposition main alliance, whose endgame was the controversial oath-taking by its presidential candidate 6 months later at the historic Uhuru Park grounds. The Raila Odinga 2018 oath-taking, the untold story. My name is Duncan Haemba. After successfully litigating their petition challenging the results of the 2017 August 8th presidential election that resulted in the David Maraga Supreme Court-led bench nullify a sitting president's election win, making history in Africa, the Raila Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka, Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula-led opposition National Super Alliance pulled another political surprise in the country. They boycotted a repeat election on October 26, 2017 on grounds that the electoral body IEBC had failed to address their irreducible minimum demands that would guarantee a fair election. Ruling Jubilee Party went ahead and participated, handing the president a victory that in itself was a mere formality for retaining power, in which NASA dismissed, saying it wasn't an election after all.
We have not individually and collectively delegated our sovereignty to Uhuru Kenyatta. In this regard, we call upon our members of parliament not to participate in vetting Uhuru Kenyatta's cabinet and other appointments, to urge Kenyans to ignore the despotic coronation of Uhuru Kenyatta on Tuesday, 28th November 2017, and to assert that we recognize Raila Amolo Odinga and Kalonzo Musyoka as the legitimate president and deputy president of the Republic of Kenya, respectively, and as sovereign people commit ourselves to see to it that they assume office. We embark on our journey of restoring democracy, just government, and legitimate leadership.
From the time we made the decision that we will not participate in that repeat election, we knew that the other side will call it a bluff and attempt to go ahead with a one-sided election as they did, which was merely a coronation of their candidate. And we said that if they went through that process, because the entire edifice around 26th October was a nullity from the start, it was a flawed process, and no credible outcome could be achieved out of that exercise. So we said if they wanted to swear in their candidate on the basis of that coronation ritual, that we were also going to swear in our candidate as having the mandate of the people. And we believe, and I still believe today, that we had the ultimate support from a large majority of Kenyans to undertake the actions that we were undertaking, and I think that was exemplified in the manner in which they turned up at Uhuru Park on the 30th of January, despite fear-mongering and high-handedness that had been undertaken by our security forces.
The National Super Alliance called for countrywide civil disobedience through its National Resistance Movement, NRM. Protests that tested and stretched government machinery for a while, resulting in chaotic and bloody scenes whenever they called their supporters into action. Satisfied with the level of resistance they were mounting, on November 28th, after President Uhuru Kenyatta was sworn into office for his second term, the de facto opposition leader also made a declaration.
Tuliambia nyinyi ya kama wakiapisha, tulisema namna hiyo, nataka mwelewe kwa makini kabisa. Nyinyi mnajua Raila Odinga si muoga. Nafikiri mimi naweza kuwa muoga. Naweza kuwa muoga. Sawa. Yale tunataka kufanya Maana yake unajua kuna kuapishwa na kuapishwa. Hapa Uganda, Bwana Besigye aliapishwa kama rais, hakuapishwa? Sio. Wiki jana kule Zimbabwe, Bwana Mnangagwa aliapishwa, hakuapishwa? Basi tutaapisha. Hiyo tumechukua kwa sababu ile Agosti 8 mahakama ilisema imeweka kando, lakini tutafanya njia ya kurudisha hiyo ndani iwe kwa katiba, na tunaapishwa tunaingia Ikulu. Sawa? Wangapi wanaunga mkono?
What gave NASA the audacity to challenge government machinery for that long?
One, we said that we had to challenge the deep state to the levels they had never been taken to before.
The initial 12th December 2017 Odinga oathing was dramatically postponed in what began to reveal divisions within NASA.
Kwa sababu ilikuwa ni muungano na wengine walikuwa nafikiria pengine kuapishwa hii ya Mheshimiwa Raila, wengine walikuwa na uoga ndani yake na hawakutaka kuonekana wanataka hiyo mambo. Ni kama walikuwa wanaona kama watashikwa na treason ya kawaida na kama viongozi. Sasa ikawa pia ndani yao hawaelewani wale viongozi wa NASA. So ikawa sisi tunaweka pressure kwa sababu wananchi wametuweka pressure na masapara wetu. Na unajua mimi kama mwenyekiti wa chama cha ODM kaunti ya Nairobi, na pia wakati hiyo nilikuwa pia under pressure kutaka kwa viongozi wa chama katika Nairobi, kwa sababu ilikuwa country ya kwamba wakiapisha tutaapisha.
Our swearing in was a protest because the government had refused totally to sit down with us and negotiate on the way forward after the fiasco of the repeat election. Because the election that was supposed to have repeated was actually a farce. It never happened. So that is what caused us to make sure that we are going to swear in Raila Odinga.
Most of this thing we had conceptualized right from June, July, because we were monitoring events and how everything was unfolding. And one of the things that stood out is the consistency of our candidate, who was the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. At no single time did he turn out a decision that our technical committee had made. So anything said to the contrary is nothing but fiction meant to sell books. And I think Kenyans should treat it as so. We have a factual account of what happened, what transpired. Those of us who were in that technical strategy committee remain faithful to the process that we undertook and retain maximum respect for anybody who was in that committee and our candidate for always approving the decisions that we took as a committee. But most importantly is that I don't want to dignify. I've not looked at the book he's written, but I know that a true account is resident in the members of that Assumption of Office of the President committee that sat throughout that period and eventually delivered Uhuru Park on 30th of January. Yeah. There are those who dealt with the software. There are those who dealt with the hardware. Yeah. And I think we retain maximum respect for the committee for retaining both, for undertaking both the hardware of the process and the software of the process.
NASA had put in place a secret technical committee that had, among others, Siaya Senator James Orengo, economist David Ndii, ODM Executive Director Oduor Ongwen, Dr. Adams Olo, Koitamet Olekina, Dr. Noah Akala, Edwin Sifuna, Hamida Kibwana, and Kathleen Openda, as well as NASA Chief Executive Officer Norman Magaya. Tuesday, January 30th, 2018 was set as the D-Day for the oath-taking for Odinga and Kalonzo as People's President and Deputy President, respectively. The venue would be Uhuru Park or wherever else they would gain access had the event been blocked at Uhuru Park.
The government had promised to crush us. So we said, we said that we are going to swear in Raila from anywhere. But our target was Uhuru Park. If we don't get to Uhuru Park, we can even assemble on a highway and people will come around and we'll have all the mechanism and we swear him in and we proceed. But we said, no, let us do something that if we are blocked there, then we shall use this first swearing in.
The determination, as I've explained, was to ultimately put an end to the idea of having a stolen election as a way of life in Kenya. We said this is something we were never going to live with. And I think we were very clear that if at all, after swearing in our candidate, and they thought we could not live with it, we had made an elaborate framework through the People's Assembly to go the secession way, because we had said that Kenya was a cruel marriage. You could not live in a state where elections are manipulated by the deep state. You participate in an election where the outcome is already predetermined and nothing comes out of it. We said that a vote must count, and we were ready and willing to do whatever it takes to ensure that we achieved that objective.
Unknown to the country and perhaps the rest of the world, KTN News can now reveal for the first time that 2 days before the Uhuru Park swearing-in, NASA Supremo Raila Odinga had secretly taken an oath at his current home on Sunday, January 28th, during the morning hours. An event that was treated as top secret for almost 1 year until the KTN News team learnt about it in September 2018. It is said Raila Odinga made personal calls inviting only few individuals and a video crew.
In the morning that day, I got a call from the People's President. It is unusual, especially during that time. It was very unusual to talk to the People's President because he was a very busy man. And he was a troubled man because he was executing functions that nobody else has ever executed in Africa as I know it. And so when very early in the morning he called me and asked me to join him for breakfast in his current residence. I found that to be an honor which I couldn't let pass. And so I faithfully went to his current residence. There I found some other people who joined us. I remember Senior Counsel Senator Orengo was there. I remember member for Mathare, Honorable Oluoch was there with us. I remember member for Westlands, Timothy Wanyonyi was there. I remember member for Makadara, Joji Aladwa, was there. I also remember Miguna, MM, was there also. And the People's President was there. And I also know that the business Mongol, my friend Jimmy, was also there. And so that was the house. I can't know up to now why the People's President chose on us to call us for that special occasion. In fact, I did not know the agenda until he revealed to us that, look, we are going to eat the Bible, so to speak. But we know that tomorrow the government will want to stop us, but we must eat the Bible one way or the other. That is how seriously Raila took it, because you remember he had just come from Homa Bay, in which he had said he was going to pay the ultimate price. And he said that he was ready to die for this nation. And so that had to be done. And so that morning he revealed to us that because he knew, he had a premonition that the government was going to stop us, we were going to do the swearing before the main swearing. And had the government decided to do what they were threatening to do, we would have done it legally. And the nation would have seen that the People's President had taken the oath.
I think baada ya Raila kutoka Homa Bay aliona kuna mchezo ambaye viongozi wenzake hawako tayari kuapishwa, na ni kama license hawa ni kama wamerudi nyuma ambao umetaja. So aliweza kufanya invitation ye mwenyewe, kupigia watu simu yewe mwenyewe, kualika watu nyumbani kwake, na tukaweza kwenda kule kama viongozi, na kwa amepigia simu Saturday na Friday na Saturday alikuwa ndio anafanya hizo invitations za kuita watu. So kuna watu maalum ambao aliitwa, ambao mimi nilikuwa mmoja wao, na tukaweza kumwapisha 28th, na tukajua kwamba hii 30th ikifika tunaweza kutibuka pule Uhuru Park, vita ikatoka, watu wakaumizwa. So tulikuwa na clip tayari yetu kama first option ya kwamba tukitibuka tuwe na hiyo clip ambayo tutatupa ya kwamba tulimwapisha, na watu wataona kweli tulimwapisha.
Those invited for the clandestine oathing were James Orengo, Miguna, Jimmy Wanjigi, TJ Kajwang, Tim Wanyonyi, Anthony Oluoch, George Aladwa, who joined Odinga and his daughter Winnie and son Raila Jr. Orengo, Miguna and Wanjigi attended because they were in charge of the process as Central Committee members. Miguna says MPs George Haniri, Cleophas Malala and Godfrey Ososi had also been invited but were unavailable, having travelled out of town. Invitations were confidential.
Such a thing, you could not carry the whole crowd with you. You have to zero down on people who can do something and take responsibility, because when we went to come up with this idea, we had to zero down with very few individuals, just about 4 only. And we have to discuss and look at all sides. What will happen? What if we are arrested? What is if this thing comes? What if people are shot? And all those kind of things. So but before we arrived at that thing, we are saying we will swear him in if they block us and it never happens on that day, on the third day, we shall use this one, the earlier version of swearing in. And we had the records, and we had the background, and we had everything, very well planned and executed. So it was something that was well thought out, and we knew that not even the NASA principals had an idea about it. So it was one of it was like the handshake, the best kept secret until today.
Hatukuwa tunajua tunaitwa nini. Tuliambiwa tu tuwe hapo by saa 2 asubuhi, na kuna mtu alijua nani ameitwa. Mimi nilijua nimeitwa peke yangu, nikaambiwa kuja peke yako na driver. So nilifuata instruction ambazo niliambiwa. Na nikaambiwa ndio mwenyekiti wa chama, lazima ukue hapo, na kama kawaida lazima ukue forefront kuona kwamba kiongozi wako ameapishwa. So sikuweza kuona wale viongozi wengine wanasa wakuu.
After having breakfast, a 1-hour meeting was held before rehearsals and the oathing conducted, an exercise that began at 10 a.m. Having clandestinely executed their Plan B, they now turned their focus back on Plan A, the Uhuru Park swearing, in what would take place 2 days later. Drafting the oath which Raila Odinga would recite was also a bone of contention. Young Turks within NASA wanted him to take the oath as prescribed in the law, even though the government had warned that doing so would be tantamount to treason. Then there are those who were opposed to the idea.
I think we had debate, and the majority of us took the view that we will follow what is prescribed in law under the assumption of the Office of the President Act and what is set out in the 2010 Constitution. Ultimately, our senior guided that they will need, since we were swearing in a people's president, that we were exercising our sovereign power as set out in Article 1 of the Constitution, that we had to do alterations on the oath to accord with the kind of power that we were exercising, which was the sovereign power, where people are exercising their power directly. And that is how we arrived at the oath that was taken out on the 30th of January. And I think that ceremony on 30th of January set apart the pretenders to the struggle for democracy and the real soldiers for the quest for democracy in Kenya. Yeah.
That document, of course, we sat together and crafted it. But the end result, it had to go to other people. We had consultants who had even looked into it. And we had a team of constitutional lawyers who are also trying to look and even look at other areas, other jurisdictions. Has something like this ever happened anywhere? Or we are going to be the first? And then also looking at what if we are stopped? What will happen? What shall we tell Kenyans? Something like that. And then we just realized that whatever we are going to do here, it must be whoever, even the person who was carrying that document, the paper that we are going to use to swear in the Prime Minister. It was not even with us. It was not with any one of us. Somebody dropped it and left mysteriously like that. And it was just picked and brought. We looked at it and we said, yes, we are ready to go. And even on that day, if you went to Raila's place, many times you'll find so many people there. On that day, nobody was there. Nobody was there. So which means it was planned very well, very, very well, that even the government was caught off guard, because they will never have suspected that anything like that was going to happen.
30th, 2018, it was D-Day for Raila Odinga. The government had threatened to bar entrance into Uhuru Park. The unrelenting NASA had vowed to defy. All eyes were on Kenya. The country was on the edge. Tension had reached fever pitch. The hour had come for a much-awaited and touted political showdown, which many had predicted would be bloody, just like previous confrontations between NASA supporters and security apparatus. Then the unexpected happened. Police who had taken vantage positions in the capital to confront and combat NASA supporters were withdrawn, a move that caught everyone, including NASA, by surprise.